Welcome back to Problem Solver Politics. I am your host, Cardin Ellis, with Cody the Oracle.
Hey, everybody.
And, usually we don't pay attention to too many claims that somebody should resign, because there's always an opposition party saying the person in power needs to resign for some stupid and oblivious reason. But in this case, the calls for Tom Perez's resignation are ringing resoundingly clear, especially in lieu of the evidence that we are about to show you. It is overwhelming. It is incredible. And it's actually almost to a point where the shamelessness of it all is kind of impressive in its own right. You know what I'm saying? Like, at this point, the train wreck's getting so big, bad, and beautiful that it's going to hit 1 million views on YouTube in the next 10 minutes. You know what I'm saying? So, anyway, Cody, tell us what is going on.
Well, I guess first we'll take a trip down memory lane to the far distant past of just a few hours before the Iowa caucuses were scheduled to begin. We've obviously been talking a ton about the Iowa caucuses the last few days because, oh man, has it been frustrating. But I forgot to bring this up. So just before and if you can go back and watch the previous videos if you haven't caught up yet, the absolute train wreck and disaster, which has actually done considerable damage to the credibility of the Democrats and probably considerable damage to the credibility of their primary process as it continues. Tom Perez released a Medium article. And I wanted to show you guys the tweet first, then we'll go through the Medium article, and then we'll get into some of the stuff going on. But this was tweeted out by Democratic Party. Words of Tom Perez, this Medium article is an op-ed written by Tom Perez, and he says, "For 3 years, we have been preparing for the process that officially kicks off tonight being in Iowa a couple days ago. The Democratic presidential primary. Today, our chair, Tom Perez, reflects on the reforms we've made to make this the most transparent primary in our history." I just want to remind everybody, the most transparent primary of our history. I believe, as of recording, we're still waiting for roughly 30% of the results from this primary that happened a couple days ago.
We've got 72. It bumped up from 71 to 72. Oh, to 75. I apologize.
I believe, as of recording, maybe higher. I doubt it. So a lot of people obviously were unhappy with this, including campaigns. I want to grab this little, now this of course we're referring to the Iowa Democratic Party in this little story right here, but I just want to give you an idea of, during Iowa, this was a particular nightmare scenario that jumped out to me I wanted to keep in mind. And this was, I want to make sure I got it right here. After they made their first statement, the Iowa Democrats, about what was going on and the fact that they said there was no actual, there we go. That's what I'm looking for right here. So around 10:26, the Iowa Democratic Party issued a statement. A little bit later, the state party tried to brief the campaigns in a phone call. Did not go well, as party officials mostly reiterated their public statements that the delays were related to issuing 3 metrics per precinct for the first time. Party officials hung up after being pressed for more by the campaigns, according to 2 people on the call. And by the way, after these party officials hung up on these campaigns, I believe most of them already were on their way to New Hampshire, and the rest were basically saying, good riddance, we're out of here. So. Yeah. Again, this is Iowa, but the reason why a lot of this is coming back down on Tom Perez is this isn't the first bad thing, that's the first bad look. So Newsweek put together a pretty interesting article here. We're going to go through a couple things here, as well as what interests me probably more than the fact that, because all I said is Tom Perez doesn't oversee the Iowa Democratic Party and how they do things. He is the head of the DNC, and he does have some influence, and he could have been a little bit more proactive in making sure what happened didn't happen. But check this out. So Tom Perez resigned trends as 2020 Democrats accused DNC chair of changing rules for Mike Bloomberg's benefit. It's an article from yesterday, but these changes, I believe, happened late last week. I think it was part of the Friday news dump. By the way, we changed the debate rules. So as the Iowa caucuses descended into chaos on Monday due to inconsistencies in reporting results, Perez faced scrutiny over the DNC's announcement that it would no longer require 2020 Democratic presidential candidates to meet any donor requirements in order to participate in debates. While the decision was billed as a way to open up the debate stage to more candidates, 2020 hopefuls were quick to catch on that the rule change was part of a particular benefit to one competitor, Bloomberg, who has refused to accept donations, opting to funnel millions of dollars from his own fortune into his campaign instead. In a statement published on Twitter, Massachusetts Senator Elizabeth Warren condemned the rule change, and they mentioned that many candidates condemned the rule change here. Again, just to reiterate, what was going on was, in order to qualify for the debate, you had to have a certain threshold, I think a couple 100,000 individual donors. And as Michael Bloomberg was accepting donations from nobody, he had 0 unique donors. Now, Tom Perez dropped that in the DNC, leading to it. So
and did it benefit anybody in particular?
Yeah, Michael Bloomberg clearly was the beneficiary.
Oh, okay. The oligarch, the wealthy one. Okay.
Yeah. Well, because there's one more story, and then we'll get into more of the fun stuff here. But one more little thing I want to pull up. So this was a story that I believe broke today. Now, this is from sludge.com. I'm a read sludge, I believe it is. I'll have the link. I have not read a ton of stuff from here, but for the most part, a lot of the stuff I haven't seen super refuted, so I want to go through it. It says Bloomberg surrogates have seats on DNC's Rules Committee.
Oh.
I wonder if any of those people had any say in the fact that there's no longer a donor threshold. Now, Tom Perez, in his own words,
the one measurable quantifier that he lacked in order to make it onto the debate stage.
Oh, yeah.
He didn't even bother getting donor thresholds or even starting doing a Tom Steyer. Because don't forget, Tom Steyer was spending 7-1 to get $1 of donors in order to qualify with the donor threshold. He was spending up to $7 and was dumping tens of millions of dollars into his campaign. Bloomberg, who already knew the corrupt system, was like, I'm not even going to mess with that. In fact, I'm going to say that I'm just self-funding and whatever because I can go get him to change the rules because I got him.
Well, here's the interesting thing, right? Because to your point, and we'll read the lead here. They say, after DNC Tom Perez unilaterally changed the February 19 rules. That's hilarious. Just from the top down, we're changing it.
Dude, Tom Steyer should be pissed. I mean, how much has he dumped?
Yeah, for the unique donors, exactly.
For the unique donors, $20 million?
Well,
I mean, that's a $20 million corruption hit that hits Tom Steyer, not Bloomberg.
Okay. Well, I want to get to the actual interesting thing about this. Which is that now we're finding that, again, this is reported by Sludge, I believe, that 2 campaign surrogates for the Bloomberg campaign are now finding themselves in a position to propose changes to the superdelegate voting rules for the July DNC convention. Now, a lot of people are asking us for a while about the confusion about what's going on with these superdelegates. In the past, they were basically at-large delegates to be assigned to whoever they wanted to assign them to, and I think it made up, they said, roughly 15% of the delegates. So, what they're going to do now in 2020, I believe, is these social media things are in the way. I want to make sure I can read this correctly for you guys. Yeah. But essentially what they're going to do is they're not going to appoint any superdelegates at first. However, if they can't come to a consensus after the first vote at the convention, they will then go back to having superdelegates be So all they have to do is draw a stalemate, whether it's a real one or not, it's a manufactured one or a legitimate one, and the superdelegates can be back in play.
What do you bet?
Yeah, but
they end up being at a stalemate and have to call them.
But listen to this then. Michael Nutter, the former mayor of Philadelphia, who is a member of the Standing Rules and Bylaws Committee, was selected by Bloomberg on December 19th to serve as his campaign's national political chair. Now maybe he has, but I've done some research. I haven't found it myself. Please, I hope I'm not too wrong on this, but why doesn't Michael Nutter have to step down as a member of the Rules and Bylaw Committee the same day he accepts to be a candidate for president's national political chair? And it was not just Michael Nutter. They also go through and they mention another individual down here, Alexander Rooker, who is a Rules Committee member and a superdelegate from California, who was hired as a senior advisor to the Bloomberg campaign last month. Rooker, who was previously a lobbyist for the Communication Workers of America, is a vice chair of the California Democratic Party. And we now see DNC Chairman Tom Perez nominated Rooker to serve as a vice chair of the 2020 DNC at a DNC, wow, a lot of use of DNC, executive committee meeting last weekend. That is crazy to me. Now, the way I understand this is Michael Bloomberg hires Alexandra Rooker. A couple weeks pass. Tom Perez nominates her to serve as the vice chair of the 2020 National Convention Rules Committee. So there we go. That's just one incomplete. I can do a 5-hour video if I had enough time to research and all the nonsense we've had from Tom Perez. But I just want to give you guys a hint of what's the last 24-hour news cycle around Tom Perez. I didn't know this. I just, till today, nominated somebody who was literally just hired to be a lobbyist or just hired to be a senior advisor for the Michael Bloomberg campaign, nominates them to serve on the Rules Committee as a vice chair.
And he was previously a lobbyist for the transportation or for the Communication Workers of America, vice chair of the California Democratic Party. Oh, you can't touch anything in the California Democratic Party.
Again,
you know you're getting a corruption case. Oh my gosh. That's like saying, in the 30s, we hired, this guy from Chicago who ran alcohol distillery for medicinal uses, though. He was only selling to pharmacies, we promise. You know what I'm saying? Like, Please.
How about this? Let's
Nobody could take that seriously.
Let's hear this from Tom Perez himself, because I wanted to show you guys all that, and then I wanted to go back to the Medium article. This is basically the press release that Tom Perez issued through the Democratic Party just ahead of the Iowa caucuses. This is how he closes it out. I think it's fitting with everything we've seen.
Okay.
I am exceptionally proud of the reforms the Democratic Party has made to fulfill our promise to our voters and rebuild their trust in our party. These changes are all about the future. They're about growing our party, uniting our party, and earning the trust of committed Democrats like you. I can't say this enough. The new DNC is doing things differently. Oh my, they are. We've passed the strongest reforms to our party in decades, and because of this work, we're poised to take back our democracy in November and win elections up and down the ballot for years to come. Here we stand, 72 hours later, and Tom Perez should resign is trending on Twitter. Or Tom Perez resign. People are calling for the resignation.
And look what he says. He says, rebuilding the trust in our party.
That's what I mean.
They totally screwed Bernie Sanders.
Yeah, or they're in the process of doing it again right now.
And, oh, yeah, this could be the second one. I mean, I don't know. Other than, I mean, if our media weren't so biased towards the left, the Democrat Party's incompetence level could not survive. They go the way of the Whigs. You know what I'm saying? They would go the way of the Whigs. And this is actually the reason why I love the progressive movement that's kind of pulled up. You know what I'm saying? Hey, you know, you joke and you laugh and you smirk because oftentimes the doctrine of the progressive left I fight against. But really, it's progressives that are opening a lot of mainstream Democrats' eyes to the actual corruption of the mainstream Democrat establishment. Without Bernie getting screwed in 2016, we couldn't say as Republicans, look, dude, literally now they're doing it to themselves. Like they're done doing it to us. And this unholy alliance between the media and the establishment Democratic Party that we've been calling evil for years has always been able to be dismissed as partisan bickering until they started doing it to their side now too. You know what I'm saying? And I don't know. I think he should, because it's not good. Like I want more parties. I don't want less. I don't want to see the Democrats tank. I just want to see them be better. I'd rather have two solid, smart parties.
But here's the thing, man. Like with Tom Perez in particular, because again, I want to just walk through this, what happened here. Okay. Recently with Tom Perez in the last few days. He isn't a bunch of nonsense. I want to also keep in mind that Tom Perez swore up and down that focus on impeachment would not distract away from the party's internal focus.
Oh, that's true.
On the primary, and that it would not lead to what we've seen today. Anyway, I want to just walk through this again. So once again, because I make sure people understand this. Two individuals who are working in this Rules and Bylaws Committee for the DNC are being paid by Michael Bloomberg and have been for some period of time. One of these, after being paid by Bloomberg, was then appointed to the vice chair of this role for the 2020 primary season. This is, one report of what it was like backstage or behind the scenes when this was done. So check this out. So last week, the DNC eliminated the individual donor threshold for candidates to qualify for future debates, paving the way for Bloomberg to appear at the next debate, which will be held in Las Vegas. The change came directly from Perez and the Rules and Bylaws Committee members. From the Rules and Bylaws Committee. Members did not give any input or hold a vote. Wow. Oh, sorry. I have to walk this back. Commas, man. The rule came directly from Perez, and the Rules and Bylaws Committee members didn't give any input or even hold a vote, according to most people close to the matter. Sources reported the decision was announced without a roll call vote of the around 430 DNC national members, most of who learned about the change for the first time in the media. Like I said, these people aren't even being consulted on these things. Tom Perez is just making these decisions. So that's what I wanted to highlight, because I was confused a little bit because so many things, but it isn't even that like these people that Bloomberg has hired are necessarily doing anything yet. Tom Perez is just bending the rules of Bloomberg already, and now they're being brought in on top of it.
And by the way, look at who he beat out. Leading DNC members have been critical for the party's commitment to transparency and its ethic policy for lobbyists under Perez, who beat out progressive rep Keith Ellison in February 2017. You know, the guy that was convicted of abuse.
That's what I was going to say. Didn't he have his
beating
own
his
problem?
girlfriend. Yeah. So the DNC is choosing right now between the wife beater and the oligarch's friend who just unilaterally changes the rules in a party who now has a Supreme Court statement saying they don't need to fulfill campaign promises of transparency. That's literally what we're dealing with. We're dealing with a party who has gone to court to defend their right that they don't have to live up to what they tell the public they're going to do. And the Supreme Court has said effectively, yes, since you're just a private party, these are kind of just like campaign promises. You're not an actual like governmental organization. You're not a Department of Energy. You're not a Department of Education. Therefore, your claims of transparent elections are more of like an election promise than they are, an actual policy, a policy, not prescription. That's not the right word. An actual hard set policy. Come on. How would you better describe, Cody, the lawsuit of 2016?
Well, I don't want to.
You're scowling over there like I just farted or something.
The way I remember it, while the DNC did attempt to argue that, the court did not accept that argument and said that is not true. People do have a reason to expect you to provide fair and balanced results. But Debbie Wasserman Schultz had to resign for election interference. Like, that was a crap argument they gave, and the court said, excuse me, this is a crap argument. You're not allowed to tell us.
No, but you've mentioned, what is it that you mentioned about that?
That is literally what I mentioned. They argued it in court because that's what they tried to get away with, and the courts came back to them and said, sorry, not good enough, because it isn't. Finally, there's some adults in this world. I don't have much more to say on this other than Tom Perez has so far overseen a DNC that has basically ruined he's overseen a period of the DNC where the credibility of the party is getting shattered. Why? Well, incidents like Iowa, where this happens, doesn't help. Incidents like Michael Bloomberg going to be showing up on the debate stage, even though he wasn't on the ballot in any of the states leading up to that debate because he didn't feel like it was worth running in Iowa. Basically said, I joined late. I won't run in Iowa. I won't run in New Hampshire. I won't run in Nevada. I won't run in South Carolina. I'll run in California. I'll run in Texas. I'll run in New York. And what is Tom Perez doing? Just facilitating it. Sounds good to me, Mike. Don't even bother showing up to Iowa. Don't even bother taking donations. Don't even bother. As far as I know, the DNC hasn't even pressured Michael Bloomberg to, give up a little bit of his media company he owns. You know what they do instead? I'll show you guys this. You know what they do instead? What they do instead for Michael Bloomberg and the Bloomberg website is they run this in the bottom of their articles. Disclaimer, Michael Bloomberg is also seeking the Democratic nomination for president. Bloomberg is the founder and majority owner of Bloomberg LP, the parent company of Bloomberg News. That's what they do instead. Has there been a word from Tom Perez on this yet? I don't think so. I think Tom Perez is fine with it.
Could you imagine? I mean, they go after Donald Trump's failed steak company. They go after Donald Trump's failed Trump University, things that haven't existed for over a decade. And then the only thing they require for the billionaire oligarch to buy his way into an election and then change the rules of the election so he can participate in the debates that he was ruled out of earlier. The only thing that's required for the billionaire, who, by the way, I think has 10 times the personal wealth of Donald Trump. Michael Bloomberg's, I think Donald Trump's a 5 billionaire. Michael Bloomberg's estimated worth is between 50 and 100 billion.
He's super rich.
So it's like, so their oligarch who dwarfs the wealth of the Republican billionaire, you only need a 3-line parenthetical at the end of the news cycle. But they're dredging up crap from a failed steak endeavor.
Oh yeah.
On Donald Trump. I mean, this is literally outrageous insanity. And I don't know any organization that would hold on to a guy like this. If this were an NFL team, or if this were the Lakers, dog, and the failure was this abysmal,
if you're, I'm gonna
would he as a coach get fired? What? No, name an organization that tolerates this.
But these are things. It's not even the losing at a certain point. If you lose, it's frustrating. It's when you start diminishing the reputation of the brand. It's when it gets to the point where, guess what? I've seen people online speaking in reference to the Democrats, looking around saying, I don't really know if this is the party I want to. I think it was Crystal Ball who tweeted that. Why would Bernie Sanders ever be a Democrat? Why would he ever want to join this? People always ask, why is Bernie still an independent? Maybe because he sees what the Democrats are. Why would he ever want to join that? Once it gets to the point where people don't trust the company you represent because of like the actions of you, it's time to go. It's time for Tom Perez to go. I mean, this story by Sludge, if this is all true, again, I haven't independently obviously vetted any of this, but I agree for the most part. This sounds like the things they're writing in here aren't made up. It's when someone was hired as press releases for this stuff. It's crazy to me. I mean, the fact that Tom Perez can appoint somebody who's being paid by Michael Bloomberg But a week after they get hired by Michael Bloomberg, according to this timeline, a week or two after they hire this individual, they just get nominated by Tom Perez to be the vice chair of the Rules Committee. It's like...
What do you know?
It's just like...
It's like Sim City.
Yeah.
This is literally like Sim City if you were trying to cheat.
But here's the thing. Even if it is just above board and people being idiots, it doesn't matter anymore. It looks like they're cheating. At a certain point, it doesn't matter if you're cheating. It looks like you are. It looks like you're lying. It looks like you're not telling the truth. It looks like you're trying to rig things for Michael Bloomberg for some reason. And it doesn't matter what the truth is anymore because this is the appearance.
Damn.
I don't know what Tom Perez could do to salvage the reputation of his era of the DNC. I don't know what he could do.
Just call everybody racist. That's what they do.
But what do you
if
mean?
you don't like me, it's because you're racist.
That's what they do. I have no idea what this individual can do for the things he stood for. I don't know. I don't know how you make up for this. Because guess what? This big, flowery thing he wrote on Medium about how we've been preparing 3 nights. They prepared 3 nights for the biggest caucus disaster in years. That's what they prepared for. Jeez. As we sit here, I don't believe we have the full result. I'll do one last check. I'll do one last check to see if we're still looking at partial results. Almost 48 hours later, we're looking at partial results. Yep, 75% of precincts still we're looking at.
Jeez.
It is 3 p.m. local time.
At this point, you could have just remember, and this is the last thing I'll say before we end the podcast. In Broward County, where the crazy lady with better hair than Bernie Sanders runs things, you know what I'm saying? They literally, by this time, last election cycle, when it was real controversial, had effectively done 2 recounts on paper ballots. I mean, these people keep saying that, oh, you know what? Don't worry about the app because our paper trail, yeah, it's solid. Nothing's been hacked. No, it's all transparent. Oh, really? Where's your first count? Then your recount. Then the second recount. Because the people we thought were the bottom of the barrel boneheads in Broward County, Florida, had already executed 2 solid recounts, you know what I'm saying, within the first 36 hours, and we're on like their 3rd recount with all the candidates and the news organizations staring over their shoulders, literally like, you know, practically you're not allowed to actually see the ballots because there's information on them. You know what I'm saying? But you literally, if you would have had a 4K camera, been able to read the names on the papers themselves in real time on CNN. You know what I'm saying? It's like,
I think there was someone, I forgot, I feel bad. I was trying to find them. So I think I said it right here. Someone had a great tweet on this. So
okay.
I thought it was funny. Here we go. I think you'll get a kick at this too, Carden. A Matt Blaze individual, don't know a lot about him, but this was my favorite take on the Iowa caucus. I'll do one last dunk on it. He said, a system where the vote is taken by literally having people stand around in groups is apparently being disrupted by a software failure. Yeah. That's Tom Perez's DNC. That's how they're doing things. It's not going to be the last time this happens too. Nevada's already
say that one more time. Put that up one more time.
A system where the vote is taken literally by having people stand around in groups is apparently being disrupted by a software failure. And how naive he was. That was 7:50 p.m. on the 3rd of February. Here we sit, 1 p.m. the 5th of February, with very little more info than we had then. So.
Oh, that is too funny. That is so good. Anyway, let us know what you guys think. If there's something we missed, please comment below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and follow us on Twitter at PSP Radio 1. Also, please consider joining. We have great members-only content. This is Problem Solver Politics. See you guys in the next video.